because of the nightclub fire in Rhode Island, we make it a practice to, whenever addressing a group, just to remind people that in the event of an emergency, there is a way to get out of the building other than the way you came in. There are exits through the drapes behind me. Right below the sign that you can't see that says exit. And also, just to let everyone know, open house fire department is October the 11th from 11 to 5. Ham and bean supper is on the 18th, Saturday, right here. I don't have the hours. I think it's 4 to 7 or something like that. Why am I doing this class? I've been doing these kinds of things for many years. I've done this program a couple times in West Boylston, in fact. I am not a member of law enforcement. My business is selling materials to police and fire, but I haven't been trained in identity theft. I did stay at a Holiday Inn once. Now that's pretty good, but let's get something straight. I asked a special dispensation for the group, did not get it. So your reaction to my jokes and on the written exam that I'm going to give out will appear on your permanent record. We don't have too much time. I have a handout. If someone could be so kind to pass it to your neighbor. Very first thing, quick quiz. As soon as you get your handout, there are 8 questions, and I'll start to read them in the event it hasn't reached you yet. Number 1, losses due to identity theft are well documented. Number 2, these are all yes or no. Only those licensed by the town of Brooklyn can pick up your trash. Number 3, it's safe to discard expired credit cards by cutting them in half and throwing them away. Number 4, sensitive documents can be destroyed by shredding them. Number 5, you should make a copy of your credit cards and keep track of them. Number 6, you should always supply your credit card or Medicare number when asked by authorized personnel. Number 7, telephone solicitors that ask for credit card information are regulated by state or federal government agencies. And number 8, the final question, the Better Business Bureau can be used if your identity is stolen. If everyone has them, if you care to answer yes or no, true, false, whatever. If not, just hold on to it. We will revisit these questions at the very end. In fact, can I have a volunteer, someone who has a good memory? Is there a volunteer? Someone who has a not quite good memory. And someone remind me at the end to ask these questions again. I did mention that I lived in town, moved out in either 2000, 2001, 2002. My mother moved to Berlin from Brooklyn. She retired here. And she passed away in the year 2000, that I remember. And she lived in Northbrook Village. And she said, living in this town added years to her life. She loved her apartment, hated the people that were her neighbors around. Just joking, just joking. Especially, I have to acknowledge Ruth Helen, her dear friend, and again, in all sincerity, it added years to her life. Did I say that right, Ruth?
Yeah.
Okay. I want the money in small bills. Okay. The bottom line of identity theft is you don't want to get in a situation where it has happened to you. This is something where it's 99.9% prevention. Because when it happens, this is the worst thing in the world. You hear horror stories about what happens to people whose identity has been stolen. And that's the nitty gritty. There are people out there, and you've seen the things on television, and it's done in a humorous way, but there are people out there, their job is not to go to work either at 9 o'clock, like us, like me. Well, maybe not quite. They don't have real jobs. Their job is to rip off people. They are very sophisticated in what they do, and they don't have, there's not a bone of compassion for what they do to people. They steal people's identities. They steal their names, addresses. their social security numbers, they set up new accounts, they borrow money on someone else. And at some point in time, that other person finds out about it, and how long it takes to find out is a function of how long it takes to solve the problem. So you don't want it to happen. How do you prevent it? Some of the ways. Shoulder surfing. You're in a crowd, someone looks over and sees something that you have. Credit card numbers, stuff like that. Dumpster diving. This is the term they use where these people actually go to the trash and retrieve things that people have thrown out. There are people who throw out financial statements, credit card statements, and that's where they get the information from. It may look like they're doing someone a favor by stopping and picking up a bag of trash and running away with it, driving away with it. They're not. They're looking for information in it. Cell phone eavesdropping. What you say on a cell phone is not secure. There are electronic devices to let people hear what you're saying. So on a cell phone, on a cordless phone, they can pick it up. It's a radio transmitter. And there are ways for people up until a few years ago to legally be able to do it. But again, we're talking about the people who do this. They don't consider what's legal or not. So that's something to consider when you use other than a wired phone. You should use easy but effective ways to make it difficult to get your personal information. Social security number, mother's maiden name. Mother's maiden name is a common thing that people ask for, like a secret PIN number or something like that. This is one of the most easiest things to find out. Look in the paper today in the obituary. It lists the person who died, and then it has in parentheses their maiden name. And then it lists the name of the children. So by looking at just that obituary notice, you see that this person and this person, the children of the deceased, you have their names, where they're from, and you get their mother's maiden name. So an easy way to prevent this is to change your mother's maiden name. Now, if she's around, don't tell her you're doing it. If she's deceased, she doesn't care. But one way or another, you make up something that you're going to use when asked that question. So with the various credit card companies, you say, my mother's maiden name is Blukenheimer. Well, don't use that, because I've already used that. But it's our secret. So that's one simple and effective way. Be creative in how you do that. Where am I? Number six. Review your financial reports, credit card, bank statements, for validity as soon as you get it. Look for things that are suspicious. Namely, look for debits of some sort that you didn't make. And as soon as you find these things, call the institution and say, hey, what's happening? It is possible to debit your checking account without you knowing about it. It happens every day now. It used to be just for the check companies, the check printing companies. You'd look and you'd see the debit for some outrageous amount of money. Now, more and more merchants, you write a check, they electronically debit it from your account. So the ability to do it is there. So you're just hoping that the bad guys haven't gotten that information to do it. And I'll review what information specifically they go after. A red flag, a letter thanking you for a purchase that you didn't make. If you didn't make it, someone did using your information. Don't carry your checkbook unless you have to. And when you do carry a checkbook, for whatever the reason, when it comes time to have checks reprinted, put down the minimal amount of information on it. And I'm not going to ask to embarrass anyone. Does anyone still put their social security number on their checks? No. Once upon a time, that was, it saved the problem of when you went to cash it, they would ask for your driver's license, which had your SS number on it. So, if you put your name down, that should be sufficient. If you're buying something from someone, they're not going to be delivering it or anything based on the address on the check. They're going to be doing it based on the information you give them, or if you fill out mail order form. So you really don't need anything more than your name on your checks. Number 10, this is controversial. Only carry your SS card or Medicare card when you absolutely have to. I have a Medicare card, and my Medicare number, strangely enough, is my Social Security number. Right? And the only thing that makes it unique is I have a letter at the very end of mine. It's a V. And I don't know if that means anything. I don't know if that indicates that I'm a veteran. Okay. So, once again, why carry something if you know the information that's on it? Unless you're going somewhere, to some place, that they absolutely have to see the card. Now, for the past couple of years, when I've gone to typically a doctor's office, and they ask for my Social Security number, I say, I'm sorry, I don't give it out. And sometimes they look at me, sometimes say, well, we really need it for our system. And I say, well, I guess you're going to have to figure it out some other way. And nothing's ever happened. So maybe that's something to think about. And again, I don't want to give the impression that everyone who you deal with, who you give this information to, is a crook and is going to use it for not appropriate, proper purposes. But again, why give anyone more information than you have to? Be careful about where you get your incoming mail and where you place your outgoing mail. If you have some sort of a controlled place, I know Northbrook Village has, in a controlled area, mailboxes. Outgoing mail, again, the less opportunity someone has to get your mail, incoming or outgoing, the better off you are. I know a lot of people have post office boxes, and this is one solution to it. And I'm not today suggesting everyone goes out and gets a P.O. box at the Berlin Post Office located on South Street, but Heidi gives me $5 for everybody who I send it. Just joking, just joking. Use a cross-cut shredder or scissors to destroy sensitive information. You can, if you don't have a shredder, you can have a pair of scissors will do. In fact, I'll show you a little bit later something that is new on the market, and I got this from the police chief, who said he's seen it and used it. Super shredder scissors, and they're very, very cute. Another red flag. A small unknown purchase on your credit card, something called phishing. It happened to someone who I know. They looked at their credit card and they saw a purchase at McDonald's for $4.50. And he said, this is strange because I don't go to McDonald's. And if somebody gets a hold of a credit card, they sometimes will do that for a small transaction just to see if it goes through. And if it goes through, now they know that they have a real live number with all of the other information, and they'll use it not from McDonald's, but for a big purchase. So if you see anything on your credit card statement, be suspicious. I think the key word in this whole thing is be diligent. Don't think, oh my God, it's a horrible world and all these people are out to get me. But be diligent to the point of being wary, suspicious, but check those statements out. Silly thing, don't leave your wallet or handbag where it becomes a target. When my girlfriend and I go food shopping, every time I see it, I point it out to her. Some person, I won't say woman, but it's always a woman, the handbag in the shopping cart. And they leave it there, and they go down the aisle, and they're always turning around to see if it's still there. If it's gone, okay, and this is, again, one of these things that these people are very good. It's gone, and then they get the thing, there's a handbag found, go to the desk, and everything is there, okay? Oh, okay, boy, I'm lucky, okay? Everything is there, but in the 1 minute they had it, they copied down the numbers. So the person now has sort of a false sense of security. So if you're sensitive information, credit cards, etc., leave your physical presence for any length of time. Be suspicious, and you may want to do something about it. Don't respond to emergency phone calls that would have you give out sensitive information. People calling with whatever it is, and the bottom line is they need something from you, you're not going to do it. Now we get into this thing about credit card information over the phone, when you do it and when not. And I guess the rule of thumb is if you call some person, organization, business to purchase something, and you initiate the phone call, and you give them the credit card information, it's probably safe, as opposed to someone calling you, and when they, after all, get around to it, they ask you for that information. When I would suggest never, ever do that. So if you initiate the phone call, it's probably safe. If they do, it's probably not. And again, a no-brainer. Don't display a lot of credit cards or cash. Okay. Any questions on that first section? Okay. Next section. And if you use computers, show of hands, how many people use computers in one way or another these days for email or other things? Okay. A fair number. Lotteries and $27,200,000. I suppose everyone gets those emails that you lucky person, have been picked to win that, and it's usually 27 million. I personally don't answer them, at least unless they're at least 30 million. Not all Nigerians are crooks. I don't want to offend anyone. Are there any Nigerians in the office? I say that I haven't met all Nigerians, but at least those that you read about, and these scams. It's supposedly the third biggest industry in Nigeria, email scams. Sometimes referred to as the 419 fraud. 419 is the federal statute that gets involved with email. And a subset of that is the Canadian lottery and the Spanish lottery. Again, from my perspective, they're all scams. Now, if you happen to drive to Canada and you go to a retail outlet where they sell the tickets, that's different than getting things through the mail. I don't know how our federal government likes the idea of you buying a Canadian lottery ticket, but I think they may not like the idea, but they'll probably want to tax you on it. Never respond to emails directing you to update personal information. There's not a legitimate company out there that does that. If it's necessary to update something, and I mean, they already know everything about you, so there's no such thing as we want to update our records, we want to make sure everything is right. That's nonsense. And if there was anything at all that would send you something in the mail, none of them do it by email. What you see on an email ain't necessarily so, which was one of the songs from a great musical, Porgy and Bess. Excellent. These people are very clever, and they send out emails that look very authentic. It looks like it comes from a real company. It has the graphics, it has the colors, it has the text, but it's not. Because when you respond to them, you don't go to that website that's on it, you go somewhere else. One of my favorites, seemingly harmless emails that are requesting unimportant information, like which is better, Coke or Pepsi? By the way, which is better, Coke or Pepsi? Coke. Okay. We have a little Pepsi? Coke. Tastes great. Less filling. Tastes great. That's another commercial. I don't like these things because what happens is they're sending out these emails to millions of people, and those who reply are now replying with their valid email addresses. So whereas the things go out sort of shotgun approach, they come back very precise. So if you don't care that you're giving someone your email address, go ahead and respond. The next thing is if it requires a password, this is the thing I really don't like about it. I heard this morning on the news, there's a new website called Tizzle.com, I think it's Tizzle, T-I-Z-Z-L-E, which is some news gathering thing. And this is on NECN. And it showed that to get into it, you do that, and then it'll ask you to set up a login name and a password. And right off the bat, I said, I'm not interested. And here's the reason. How many passwords do we all potentially have for all of the things that we do? Well, that's what happens. People usually use one. So when you're giving this person who wants to know which is better, Coke or Pepsi, some kind of login, they don't care about that. They care about your password, which most of the time is the same password that you're using for your very important things. Access to bank accounts, etc. So for that reason, I don't do it, and if I do it at all, I use as a password spam. That's what I use, that's my password. Which I never use for, that's not my really important password. So I use spam, and if spam doesn't work, I use spam with another M. And if that doesn't work, I use SPAMMMMMM. I keep on adding M's until I make it unique. Because I don't care if anyone learns that that's my password. Again, between those of us here, it really is. My password is mother's maiden name, which is, I forgot it already. Bruckenheimer. Is that what I said? Never give sensitive information via email. Emails are not secure. Somebody within the past day or so sent something to me involving somebody including Social Security number. And it is absolutely 100% not secured information. It is not open to the public, but again, the people who are these lowlifes who steal identities, they get information and they don't care about legal or not. So when you send something by email, never include sensitive information. I mentioned I have a business. We use a secure server for credit card information, and it has all of the bells and whistles that what they enter is coded, we get it at our end, it's decoded, it's destroyed. Okay. But we still, on occasion, will have someone ordering something in an email, and they're giving their credit card information. We tell people not to do it, but you can't stop it. People do it, and it's not a good idea. Okay. Any questions about this section? Please. I need a break. I have a limit on how many words I can use. These classes are great if people start to share some of their own thoughts, experiences, feelings. Yes, ma'am. Now let me just say this. Sometimes people say, well, I don't want to ask this because it's a stupid question. Okay? I've done these kinds of things. I teach this class. I teach a class on money management. I've done things for years and years. And there's no such thing as a stupid question. Go ahead.
Okay. No, now, with this SOAR group that we're in at the school, now we have to fill out a form down there and go, I mean, you have to tell them your social security number, you have to tell them your mother's maiden name. I mean, like we're going to be terrorizing these children, it's going to open them, you know? I mean, I don't like giving my social security number, even to them.
Well, okay, two thoughts. First of all, that's a stupid question. A joke, I'm joking. I filled out a Corey form. I filled out an application for volunteer work at the Veterans Shelter in Worcester.
Right.
And it asked me those two things, and I said, I don't supply that.
Right.
Right. And
I left mine blank, I haven't heard anything yet.
yeah, no, again, you're putting me in a difficult position. If you really, really want whatever it is, they're vehement, they're absolute that you have to do it, then you have to consider, do I want it that bad that I'm willing to share that information with this person who I don't know, who is 99.9% of the time is legitimate. But again, my thinking is why give something to another person, who it really is not necessary for the purpose. So what you did is what I would do.
Yeah.
Just don't fill it in. Put down NA.
Right.
That's your
Right.
mother's maiden name. Not. If they ask.
But even like the lottery, okay? I had a scratch ticket that was a winner and bigger than a store could give you. And you had to go to the lottery. Well, you have to give them your Medicare card to show them that you have that Social Security number. And I didn't have mine with me.
That's different. They have to report, they have a legal right to ask that, because they're gonna turn you in and you're gonna be taxed on that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I know.
So, I mean, that's their base. When people ask my social security number, I say, are you gonna stop paying me a salary? Is this something they haven't told me yet? I've, through the business, applied for credit from some vendors, and they wanted, and they asked me, they said, well, we want to check you. I said, okay. Accept me, accept that our Dun and Bradstreet rating, okay, but I'm not gonna give you, and I tell them, you know, don't be offended, because I tell it to everybody. So, again, I went for a flu shot at Marlborough Hospital. They want to know my social security number. You're gonna put that in my arm, and you know, I should ask you for something. You're gonna give me pain. Okay, good question. Yes, ma'am?
It happens at the restaurant all the time. They bring you the bill, they put your card in, and they take it away.
Yep.
And register it.
Yep.
And
Yep.
you take it to the register and stand there.
Yep.
So my husband was like a $15 lunch card. And within 3 days, our credit card called and said, $7,000 hit on your account. And, I mean, of course, they called us right up because we don't do that.
Yep.
And to correct it, so now he only pays in cash. I mean, I'll take your credit card to the register, to the waiter.
Yep. It happened
Here and
in
there, it gets lost.
Holden, Chinese restaurant in Holden, that one of the people there, and they didn't even know who it was after the fact, because they didn't bother to check their employees. They said, well, if they work out after a few months, then we'll ask them for identification. I mean, there's probably lots of laws against it, but they were taking a credit card and carrying a portable device, swiping it through, and they grabbed all the information. This is the information, do I need this, by the way?
Yes.
No,
Marge, do I need this?
no.
A little loud, Ira.
Okay, we'll try with that. It's heavy. This is a typical credit, this is not a real credit card, okay? This wouldn't work. But this is the types of things on it. The name of the credit card number, valid through, and the name on it. And on the back, it typically has the 4 digits, which also happen to be the last 4 digits of your credit card number, and then usually a 3-digit number at the end, known as CVV code or something like that. So the critical things on this piece of cardboard or the plastic is the credit card number, the expiration date, and the CVV code. And more vendors are asking for that 3-digit code. And in some cases, people have told us, no, we've been told by the bank not to give it out. Other people, when we explain, understand that that's one way of proving that the person physically holding that credit card is the person who owns it and not somebody else. You give your credit card to someone, and it happens, we all do it every day. Gas station, purchases of food. Now we know that everybody who works at a gas station and at a restaurant, they've been certified, they're bonded, etc., etc. Not. So we're putting our trust in somebody with that. We, as she pointed out, you give the card to someone, they take it, they bring it back. You don't know if they copied down the information. They have your name. They probably can figure out where you live. It's very easy with the internet, with just any person. And I don't want to make everyone paranoid, but it's very easy to find out lots of information about people, certainly their addresses and their phone numbers, through the internet. So they can very quickly, these unscrupulous people, find out that information and use it. And one of the things I'll get to later is the monitoring services that everyone is offering to help people know that something has happened. But even forgetting about that, the other thing that she mentioned is more and more the credit card companies, they look at somebody's spending patterns. And when there's a purchase made, whether it's out of the geographic area where they are, whether it's into a type of purchase that they don't usually make, when there's something there that is not the norm for that person, they'll call up. And I think that's great. I'm not at all upset when they call up and they say, we see you've made these purchases, can you verify them? I say, great, I'm happy about it. So that is for free. The credit card companies, because they don't want this to happen. And they're just, like I had made a purchase of something, electronic equipment that I don't usually buy, personal account, and they called up very quickly. I got an email to contact them immediately.
They sent us a new card, a whole new number. They erased the whole thing. They, you know, took off the 7,000, but they sent us a whole new card, a whole new number.
Yes, yes. We had a situation where we were out for our walk, and my girlfriend dropped her wallet and picked it up, and then realized one or two of the cards were missing. Went back, found it, but still being just a little bit extra cautious, called up and said, this card was out of our physical possession for an hour or so. Can you send us new cards? No problem. So, you know, as long as you have it in your control, nothing is bad's gonna happen. But when you give it out to someone else, and again, cautious, alert. And what was the good word that I had before? I had a good word, not paranoid. Just be aware of what goes on. Okay. So again, that's that 3-digit code. I think American Express it's a 4-digit code, and American Express it's on the front of the card. But Visa, MasterCard, and Discover it's all on the back last 3 digits. That's why they're asking for it. One more way of trying to protect the user that it is that person using credit card. Credit card companies now, almost all of them, they verify credit card number, all 16 digits, the expiration date. For mail order purposes, they verify that the billing information is the same as where the credit card statements are sent to. Now, some mail order companies, they won't even let you ship to a different address. Some do. But everybody wants to know that the billing address is where the credit card statements are sent to. Another method of protecting it. Okay, next section, scams, scams, and more scams. I am a member of AARP. Does anybody else belong to AARP? Okay. September issue. So it's not good anymore because it's last month. I'll throw it away. Upper left-hand corner, scam alert. Beware of the digital TV deals. So this is very current information. Something in the news that's used as a pretext to call you and get personal information from you. And we'll use this one first. As everybody is or should be aware, the method of transmitting television signals is changing on February 1st. Right? They've been saying it, you see it all over. They're going from analog to digital. And what it means to television viewers is that if you have something that comes into your house in the way of a cable, like you have cable TV, satellite TV, whatever, it's no problem because that signal already is digital. If you have a TV antenna, in some cases, you will not be able to watch television after February 1st. Now, some people may say, that's great, so we can talk instead of watching TV. Other people may say, that means we're going to have to talk? Let's get the converter box. So there are ways to get a cheap converter box. The government has authorized coupons, etc., etc. What these companies are doing, some legitimate, some illegitimate, is they're calling people up and saying, we know that you're in an area that's affected, and it's the same thing over and over again. So we'll say to you, what credit card do you want to use? Okay, or could I have the, and they go through the whole process, and you got to, get, whoa, time out. Okay, if you're legitimate, send me something in the mail, and I'll check it out. And that's what I do when I get people call up for charities. No matter who it is, no matter how good it sounds, whether it's legitimate or not. A lot of them have the word cancer in it. And very few charities that have the word cancer in it are legitimate, by the way. So if it's a legitimate charity, send me something in the mail, I'll take a look at it, and I'll consider it. Surprise, no one has ever done that. So same is true of these things. And they use something that's the buzzword of the day. And today, because it affects everybody, at least in Massachusetts, and I guess worldwide, is this cable, TV, analog, digital thing. Reverse mortgage scam. I'm not making this up. My girlfriend's mom lives in Brunswick, Maine. We went to a series, a 3-hour thing on identity theft, and there were various people who spoke, all wearing 3-piece suits, well-dressed, like me. And the first one spent a half an hour talking about reverse mortgages. Now, after a while, 2 minutes worth was, and people do call up saying, we want to tell you about reverse mortgages, how it's, yada, 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 okay? And that was the way to get the information. The first 28 minutes was a sales pitch for reverse mortgage. Now, I'm not going to say whether it's good or bad. I don't know exactly how it works. But regardless, that's a way that people call up to get you to give them that personal information. Donation to, pick a charity. The Katrina victims, earthquake in China, Myanmar, which used to be called very good. This is good. And mentioned already the digital TV box scam. Yes, ma'am.
I have a piece of information regarding the charity. The government actually has a list of legitimate charities because they're registered with the government. And that's what my husband did a long time ago, was send for that list, and that's the guideline he used for charity.
And it's available online,
Yes.
I would imagine?
Yes.
Yep. Good point. Okay. Anything else? Keep them comments coming. Jury duty scam. Has anyone heard about this one? No. You get a phone call. Now, generally speaking, everybody here today is eligible for jury duty. Right? Okay. At one point in time, various people, at one point in time I could be called because I was a public servant. Okay. But now everybody is. They call up and they say, this is so-and-so calling, and we see that you failed to show up, a warrant is going to be issued, yada yada, and they can, why, I never got, well, we only send it out, we don't know what the post office does. Get people really paranoid and start to say, well, you can come down to the courthouse in Fitchburg, or I can take it over the phone, we'll fill out the application to go ahead and send it through that you're protesting it, whatever, and they'll start to ask for, guess what? Name, address, social security number, etc., okay? This is one way. And then probably the worst of the double scammers. These are the people who go after those who have been victimized once, and again, by whatever network, or maybe it's the same person, maybe the same group, they know that they scammed this person, so a month later, 2 months later, they call them up, identifying themselves as a member of law enforcement who's investigating the fact that they have been scammed, and get even more information. We're pursuing this. We have some people of interest, and we see that, okay, now we have on file and they can tell them what they have because they scammed it the first time. Are there any other credit cards that we should be looking out for that they may have used? So now the person who has been victimized once gives them even more information. Okay. Very good. We've done the first half. Shredding 101. What should you shred? Credit card slips, credit card statements, bank statements, any kind of financial document that has critical information on it. And those things that you get in the mail from the credit card company, they sort of look like checks, shred them. Because again, if somebody gets that, it has information on it that they could fill it out, and they could maybe say, by the way, I moved, and they'll send it to a P.O. box or another address, which means you're not going to see that they're being used. And from a money management point of view, they're the worst things in the world to use, because from the instant you sign that and use it, you get a tremendous finance charge. But that's my other class. So if you use them, it's your decision, a bad decision, but your decision. If you throw them away, it's something that's potential information for someone to have. How to shred. Cross-cut shredder, the ones that make those little things that are about 1 inch by 1/8 of an inch, like confetti. Strip shredders are cheap but worthless. A book called The Worst Case Scenario. And I'll pass this around. Page 150. How to restore a shredded document. It shows how you can take something that's been shredded by a strip shredder and put it back together again. Want to pass it around?
They did it in Iran after the embassy was overrun. Remember the Shah of Iran? And they went like crazy trying to shred all the documents. The Iranians took all the shredded documents and spent years and put them back together.
So a strip shredder is worthless. It's cheap, but it's worthless. So you want a crosscut shredder or one of these things. Can you see what it is? It's like 5 pair of scissors welded together. And so what you do is, I mean, you can do this with a pair of scissors. And what information do you want to shred if you have a lot of it? The critical stuff, the account numbers and whatnot. But if you don't have it, look at this. Go once up there and end up with that. Go the other way. So you can. If I'm going to do this, is someone going to help me pick up the pieces? So you get. So you see, making lots of confetti. Real quick. I am going to donate this pair of scissors to Northbrook Village in honor of my mother, and maybe they can keep it in the office. Maybe people who want to use it can get together from time to time, have a, instead of a coffee clutch, have a shredding party. So that's shredding.
Where do you get those?
I'll pass this around. Chief Rhodes said he saw it at a dollar store. And I went to a dollar store and couldn't find it, so I went online and I got it from Colonial Medical, and it was like $5 or $6. I'll pass this around if someone would like to get the information from it. It may very well be at some dollar stores. It's not exactly high quality technical stuff. It's made in China, but let's not go there. One of the ways that you can find out about how you look from the perspective of the credit card companies is to look at your statement, that is the credit report, that is by law you're eligible, I think, once per year per company. 3 companies listed on the back of the handout. You can call them up, and what I suggest is every 4 months call up the next one. So you call up Equifax in January, call up Experian in whatever, on May, 3 or 4 months later, the next one. So in the course of the year, you will have gotten the credit reports from all 3 companies, which do not all have the same information. Each credit card reporting company, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, they maintain their own separate databases. So a lot of the stuff is going to be common, but there's going to be differences. You want to look for things like the name of an account that you don't have, that is suspicious. It may be very old, you forgot about it, but it also may be that somebody set up an account under your name. Yes, ma'am?
If your credit card is in danger from a company and they send you a letter and say, we had a computer stolen from our office, or we had a hard drive, and it had your credit card information on it. What has happened is Fallon Community Health and T. Rowe Price both offered me a year's subscription to these services, and every month I get a statement saying whether or not any new credit cards have been opened in my name or any large purchases have been made in my name. So take advantage of that opportunity if you get a call. Again, maybe that could be a scam too, I don't know.
Well, if they say they're doing it for you, that's fine. If they are asking you for information, then you say, well, they know who I am, they know what the numbers, they know what they had, why are they asking me? But, again, be diligent, that was what I was looking for before. If you get something like that in the mail, call them up. Make sure it's legitimate. And there are companies that do this for a fee. They monitor what goes on in your credit card activity, and when things happen, they will contact you, phone or email, and I'm not gonna say that they're good or bad. I mean, you have to decide just how much insurance protection do you want. It's not gonna do anything if your identity has been stolen. It's gonna tell you that there's something amiss, but if someone has stolen your identity, again, that's the worst thing in the world, and we get to that next, coincidentally. If you suspect your identity has been stolen, and some of the ways of getting that suspicion is stuff already mentioned, questionable charges to your credit card statement, questionable accounts appearing on your credit report. You use a credit card and it's declined, but it shouldn't be. Most people generally know when they are declined, from my perspective as a merchant, why? They maxed it out. So they just don't have enough money and it gets declined. But when it gets declined for other reasons, like if you know you have enough money to cover that and it gets declined, that's a red flag. Don't wait. Check immediately. Say, call up a credit card company. I try to purchase something that's declined. Why? And they may say, well, we've maxed it out. I say, no, I haven't. Well, if you haven't, someone else did. You don't get bills in the mail that you should get. These lowlives will file a change of address in your behalf, except you haven't moved. But they say they do. The post office has no way of knowing if it's legitimate or not. I mean, even if you worked in the post office, well, maybe this is different because everybody knows everybody else, like Cheers. But in the larger area, they don't know. And certainly if you do it online, they don't know. So you start to realize after a while, you're not getting your bills. And that's a red flag. They're going to somebody else who has now established your name at this other thing, and they're using it, and it can be a while before you even find out. If you have, and I'm not going to say run right out and reduce your credit limit on your credit cards, but if you already have it to a reasonable amount, what you usually use, maybe times 2, okay, that's reasonable. If you have a $100,000 credit limit and you never owe more than $2,000, there's a lot of room there if someone got it before anyone would realize that there's a problem. Show of hands, everyone here who has a $100,000 credit? And letters thanking you for purchases that you never made. Okay, that's a real no-brainer. The nitty-gritty, this is the if you don't remember a thing else from today's class, if you don't remember a single one of my jokes, okay, this is the thing I'd like you to remember. If you are a victim, the most important thing is don't wait 2 minutes. Act immediately. Act quickly. Get a book and start to write things down. Because again, I don't know about you guys, but I'll forget it 2 minutes later. I even forgot my mother's maiden name again. So write down when this happens. Document, document, document. Write down immediately who you spoke to, the date, time, what was said, what they're going to do, what you have to do. And you do that with all of your credit cards or banks, whatever it is where you think there's been a compromise made. Call the 3 companies, Equifax, Experian, TransUnion, and say, put a fraud alert on your credit reports. They're going to set something in your account that's going to make it impossible for anything else to happen at that point. No new accounts can be opened, okay, which is an immediate thing until this whole thing is resolved, then you can go back to normal. But you want to, sort of like the analogy is cancer. You cut out the cancerous growth, and then you move on. Close your credit card accounts, change the password on all financial accounts, file a police report. I can say that because I know Berlin is sympathetic to this happening. And Chief Rhodes has said that they have helped people do that. Other police departments, they say, it's not a criminal offense. We don't have the staff to do it, so, you know, we can't help you. But in Berlin, file a report. And again, you're documenting what happened. Do this. All of these things, don't wait until you're going to call someone who can help you. If there is no one right then and there to do it, get started. Call every creditor with a bogus account listed in your credit file and have them close it immediately. Depending upon how quickly you realize your identity has been stolen, you may be in a long battle. And use the forms found in the book from victim to victor. And I'll pass these both around. There was a A&E story about the woman that this happened to. She happened to be a lawyer, so it shows you how much that helped her. And her identity was stolen, and it's her battle to wait. Oh, I have 8 minutes left. Okay. I'm getting it cute. So I'm gonna donate a copy to be left at Northbrook Village and one at the library. So if somebody would be so good as to do that for me, thank you. Would you like to donate it to the library for me?
No, I think there's a librarian in Iris.
Okay. Okay. So you got it. And if you do those things in memory of Marion Hoffman. Scan. This is from the Mass State Police website. They as a way of remembering this whole thing and what to do. S. Stingy. Be stingy about giving out information. C. As in check. Check your credit card bank statements as soon as you receive them. A. Ask for a copy of your credit report every 4 months from the 3 reporting agencies and maintain careful records of banking, credit card, and other financial institutions. With some additional resources, Federal Trade Commission, and I don't claim credit for most of this stuff. I stole it from somebody else, from websites that I think are reputable. Federal Trade Commission, the Mass State Police, and the Identity Theft Resource Center. Is someone supposed to remind me something? I forgot what it was.
The answer.
The answer, okay. Number 1, loss due to identity theft. Well, I should have said it's a trick question or two. Okay? Loss due to identity theft are well documented. How many said yes? Nah. They have no idea, because when it happens to an individual, who do you tell it to? There's no centralized thing. They don't have a clue. It happens a lot, and you hear numbers, but nobody knows the extent of it. Only those licensed by the town can pick up your trash. Never. Anybody can. Now, the police may see someone doing it and think they're suspicious. Okay? Number 3, it's safe to discard expired credit cards by cutting them in half and throwing them away. No. If you're going to do that, don't cut it in half. Cut it in tiny little pieces. Do we see a pattern here? 4, sensitive documents can be destroyed by shredding them. Well, now you know the answer. Sort of, semi-yes. If you do a cross-cut or you have the super scissors, yes. You should make a copy of your credit cards to keep track of them. Well, one of the things that I read, someone does say that that's what they go to the 7-Eleven, they take all their credit cards, they copy both sides, so they have a record. Should something happen, they can say, this is my number, expiration date, okay, to identify it. And I say, maybe because I know a little bit how computers work, a copying machine does 2 things. It's a scanner and a printer. It scans it to a hard drive, and then it prints it. So anything you scan, it's in there. Right. Okay. And the second thing is what Detective Duggan from the West Boylston Police said at a class like this. He says, what I do is, instead of copying that information, I keep a list of the phone numbers from all my credit cards. Just the phone numbers. So if you have that phone number list, you can give that to anybody, you know, friends, relatives, whatever, and say, hold on to it. If I need it, let me have it. And then you go ahead and call those phone numbers. You don't have to give the credit card company your credit card number. They have it on file. You have to call them up on the number on the credit card, which you've written down, identify yourself to their satisfaction, name, address, mother's maiden name, Ruckenheimer, etc., etc. So you really don't need that credit card number, because if you do make a list and give it to someone to hold on to, when it happens that you need it, will they be able to get it? And are they trustworthy? Well, of course they are, or else you would have given it to them. So, that's the answer to number 5. You should always supply your credit, your social security number, when asked by authorized personnel. Well, we discussed that. What does authorized mean? Do they have a need to know? I love this one. Telephone solicitors that ask for credit card information are regulated by state or federal government agencies. She laughed. Okay, that obviously not. The Better Business Bureau can be used for identity stolen. What is the Better Business Bureau? Does anyone really know what they are? Is there a Better Business Bureau? Yes, there is. It's sort of like Chamber of Commerce. Firms pay to belong, and yes, if you're a member and someone complains about you as a member, they will do something about it. And yes, you certainly should call them if you have questions about a company that you're thinking of doing business with, because they maintain lists of problems if they've been resolved. But as a regulatory, legal, law enforcement, no, they can't do anything. So if your identity's been stolen, you know, it's not going to do any good. Okay, any questions? Yes, question? Yes, ma'am.
I received this blank check for $800 to have some hearing tests done. I never requested anything like
Sounds like a scam to me.
that. Yeah.
Again, if you could look at if you think it may be valid, call them up, go there. A company in Holden was doing that. They were sending something out that implied it was from a federal agency, and I complained about it. Okay, be alert, enjoy life, don't worry, be happy. Set it and,
Forget it.
all together now, set it and,
Forget it.
okay, thank you.